Hello, everybody. Here I am again at almost midnight on Friday, the 2nd of June. So, um, I've done a party reading this evening, and although I did the psychic readings, as we all know, I do the psychic readings in advance in my book of ticks. So, I'd actually prepared those in April because this party for these girls should have taken place in April, but they had to alter the date and it was made for tonight. A bit slow speech now after doing all that work. But anyway, um, so everything was ready for me today to go along this evening and do this psychic party. But all day I've had that little nagging feeling, and it's always in the back of my mind. And when I get this feeling, I know it's a message that I'm going to be talking about this evening while I'm doing the readings, or for somebody in particular while I'm there. And I say sadly, because it is a bit sad, uh, the feeling was regret all day, that feeling of regret. Not my regret, I might add, I don't have any regret anymore. Um, but that feeling of regret, and that I was going to come up against it this evening, that I would see it in the people I was reading for, and definitely feel it. So I went along, and actually it was fabulous. It was a new house, it was beautiful. And the people there, the ladies there this evening, equally as beautiful, I might add. And so it was really good fun for me because these psychic readings, as I said, I prepared this in April. So I forget about what I write, otherwise my head would explode. So to read them through again with the ladies was fabulous, and of course ticked every paragraph off as correct. But with each one, as soon as I'd read for the first lady, I mentioned the word regret. Um, and it was there. And with each and every one, it was there. So at the end, when we'd finished and we were all standing around and they were all chattering about it, that's when it came up. And everybody sort of said about having regret. Now, for me, regret is such a negative and destructive emotion and or thought. Um, and for some people, it's very difficult for them to not regret. But what you've got to ask yourself is, what's the point? What is the point of having that regret? You can't change anything really, unless you can put right or wrong and alleviate yourself of that regret, or uh, just learn to forgive yourself or the other person. I mean, or people. You don't have to go and tell them. You just have to deal with it yourself so that you can move forward. Because the trouble is with regret, I call it the book of regret. It's a bit like the book of resentment. So, what happens is when you're wearing regret or resentment, you keep it down, keep it pushed down inside for quite a long time. And then one day, one night, whatever, song, sound, television, the spoken word, something will set off the regret. And away you go. Going backwards in your mind, if only, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, all of those things. And you open that book of regret and resentment, and you carefully read every page, and you're winding yourself up more and more while you're doing it, or you're upsetting yourself more and more while you're doing it. And at the end of it, when you've recounted everything that you've ever regretted, where have you got? Nowhere. You've just dragged up, dug up, covered yourself in the regret and the negativity. Probably ruined your day or your night, certainly ruined your mood, took you back to unpleasant times, maybe. that you could really well do with not remembering. So at some point, for your own sake, you need to deal with your regret and or resentment. But people regret over the silliest things, you know. I wished I hadn't said that. Well, you said it. You've got two choices: forget it or apologise, do something about it. Um, there's bigger regrets and then the smaller regrets. But for me, to regret something is damaging. You're damaging yourself. Um, there's some regret that you can't discuss with anybody, so you're just going to keep breaking it over and self-harm. I mean, that's what it is, isn't it? It's mentally self-harming yourself to keep raking over the regret. So I found the best way to deal with regret or resentment, of which I have neither, I'm pleased to say. The best way to deal with it, you know, is open the book for the very last time. Have a good read in your mind, every single page, every single word of the regret. And then honour yourself by putting the regret away. Now, if it's an apology that you need to make, then make it to the universe. Make it. If you can't go to the person or write to the person and put wrong that right that wrong that you feel that you've done, or if it's regret because somebody did something to you, that's slightly different. And what you need to do is forgive them. You don't have to tell them. You just got to do it in your mind. Tell the universe. Because what you're doing is you're dragging around this big suitcase full of rubbish in your head. And it's not doing you any good. And they don't know about it, whoever it is the problems with or the regrets with. And do you know what? The worst regret, the very, very worst regret for me as doing psychic clairvoyant work, is when the regret is with you and the person's already gone. They've passed on. And you regret not seeing them, or you regret not saying something to them. Now, at least we know for sure that you can say that out loud and spirit will hear it. But good, bad, or indifferent, people have done some horrible things and then regretted it. And do you know, I spoke to a girl tonight, and a beautiful girl, and she says she felt regret. Now, I think it's regret stroke guilt, if you like, of not actually being there the moment her mother passed. But that just couldn't be helped, you know. Other people were there. So I'm not sure if it was regret or a little bit of resentment or whatever it is. But this girl lived with that every day for like, I don't know how many years, 11 years or something. And her mother wouldn't want her to feel that every day. I mean, I know we're only human. So I'm sort of trying to put it out there to people. You could have a better life if you let go of regret, if that's what you're wearing. And you can have a better life if you let go of resentment, if that's what you're wearing. Guilt, same kind of thing. If you've got the opportunity to put right the wrong, do it. If you've got the opportunity to speak to somebody that had the problem or you have the problem with, do it. What's the worst that can happen? They'll say, I don't want to know. Well, they haven't wanted to know for however long. So it's entirely up to you. But what I'm trying to get over is in this video is to live a life of regret or guilt. It is no good for you. It's negative and it's poisoning. I think negative emotions are very poisoning to the system. So it would, you know, it won't take very long for you to forgive somebody in their head, but of course, you've got to mean it. And many years ago, 19 years ago now, I had every right to be very resentful about a certain selection of people that tried to make my life very miserable. And it's always around somebody's death. It's always family. I mean, the amount of people I've seen now, the amount of fallout that comes from somebody passing do you know, it's almost ridiculous. And you think to yourself, well, at a time of somebody passing, you'd think the family would pull together and stick with each other, you know, and try and help each other through that period of mourning. But seriously, it's an opportunity for some people to really try and take advantage of others, and I've seen it now thousands of times. So for me, when it happened to me, yes, it affected me greatly. You know, my dad had just died. I mean, it was a nightmare time, and but you know, when I look back and I just think to myself, wow, it was a shame, wasn't it? Really, you know, people that had purported to be your best friend all your life, and then woof, gone, just gone out your life, just like that. Never spoken to again. Never, not one word ever spoken again to me. Not that I didn't try and speak to them. And I just think to myself, well, I could have spent 19 years sort of raking that coal over, but truly, what would be the point? It's not to change anything, it's not to do anything. So I can either have sleepless nights, uh, worrying about that and being resentful and regretful, or I can just forget it and move on. And seriously, when you take that plunge and do the little ritual of forgiving them and clearing your own mind, the difference it makes to you is phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, anybody out there that's having that regret and resentment, I'm sort of suggesting to you just give it a go. Give it a go. You've got nothing to lose except the regret and the resentment. So surely that's got to be worth it. Now, it's got to be pumpkin time now because I've been wittering on for 12 and a half minutes. My dog's just jumped at the side of the chair and nearly scared me half to death. So listen, appointments, my darlings. Nothing available now till Wednesday the 14th of June. Wednesday the 14th of June. So you can email me on Facebook or message me, and I will answer you almost straight away these days, if I can, and we'll get you booked in. Still doing parties five or more people, please, for a psychic party, and I'll come to you as long as you're not on the other side of the world. And private readings here in Kingswinford. All £20 because people ask me the same question over and over. £20 a reading. So once again, that's Wednesday the 14th of June. And just try and take on board what I've said about regret and guilt and resentment. It's just not worth it. And so on that very happy note, I will say good night to you all. And before I go, as always, please be nice to each other. It costs nothing to be kind. Thank you for listening. Bye now.